And good morning, everyone. It is 11:30 on this Friday, January 23rd, 2026, and business is starting to pick up across the Carolinas. Welcome to the Carolina Weather Group, continuing special coverage of this latest winter weather event coming up here in just a few seconds. We'll be hearing from Governor Josh Stein and other state of North Carolina officials from the Emergency Operations Center in Raleigh. We are going to run through everything we've got for you right now as far as what to expect over the next 72 hours across the Carolinas. We've got some new watches, some new warnings actually that have just come out in the last few moments. So we're going to get you the latest on those and just run through everything that's going to be going on over the next 72 hours as far as what we're expecting weather-wise. We want to hear from you as well. Love to get your comments. Hit us up in the comment sections, whether you're here on Facebook or on YouTube. And we will get to your questions as well throughout, trying to show you what's going on where you are. So let's go now to Raleigh for this live briefing from Governor Josh Stein here on the Carolina.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we share updates on the winter storm coming to North Carolina tomorrow. I'm joined by the Director of Emergency Management, Will Ray, Secretary of Transportation, Daniel Johnson, Secretary of Public Safety, Jeff Smythe, Major General Todd Hunt of the North Carolina National Guard, and the Commander of the State Highway Patrol, Colonel Freddie Johnson. Jackie Matevier and Murtado Bustillo are our Spanish language interpreters, and our American Sign Language interpreters are Stephen Holland and Karen Magoon. The latest weather forecasts lead us to expect impacts to the majority of the state starting tomorrow and lasting into next week. Between snow, sleet, ice, freezing rain, and bitterly cold temperatures, this storm is expected to cause major disruptions to your daily life, possibly for days. Our message to North Carolina is simple. This is a serious storm. We are taking it seriously, and so should you. On Wednesday, I declared a state of emergency across North Carolina to mobilize resources in advance of the storm. We've activated the State Emergency Response Team, a cross-agency group that includes the Department of Transportation, the Department of Public Safety, the North Carolina National Guard, the State Highway Patrol, and our state's utilities. The NCDOT has already put down 2.8 million gallons of brine to pre-treat the roads and is ready to salt the roads and plow them once the storm begins. The State Emergency Response Team has shipped pallets of meals and drinking water around the state in preparation. Some localities are starting to open warming centers, so check your local government emergency management's website to see what options are available near you. And utilities like Duke Energy have brought in more than 18,000 workers from around the country to help restore power where necessary. At this time, because of expected ice accumulation and cold temperatures, our greatest concerns remain unsafe travel and power outages that could last for days. So we recommend that you take the following actions to navigate this winter weather event. First, stay informed. Make sure you're following your local media, the National Weather Service, and your local emergency management agency for the latest updates and recommendations. Second, get disaster supplies ready now in case you lose power and can't leave home for a few days. You may need water, non-perishable food, medication, and other supplies for 3 to 5 days for each person and pet in your household. You may also need a flashlight and fresh batteries, a battery-operated radio, a way to keep your phone charged, and blankets and winter clothing. Visit readync.gov for more detailed information about how to prepare for a storm. Third, make a plan. Make a plan for if the power goes out, how you'll safely keep warm, what you'll eat, and who you will call in case you need help. Be ready to reach out to family or authorities for help if you're without power for an extended period of time. The effects of the storm could last for days. Fourth, stay off the roads starting tomorrow. For your own safety and that of others, please do not drive unless it is necessary. And that request will likely extend beyond the weekend. Next week is going to be cold. We expect the temperature to fall below freezing every night for the next 7 days. That means whatever ice or snow that turns to slush during the day will freeze again overnight. Black ice will remain a risk in many places into next week. So plan for the possibility that you'll be stuck at home for a few days. Fifth and finally, as you're getting ready yourself, don't forget to check on your loved ones, neighbors, and anyone you know who might be vulnerable, including the elderly. Over the past year, I've been inspired time and again by the many North Carolinians I've seen lending a helping hand to their neighbors in need. So please look out for your family and yourself and for your neighbors too. North Carolina, that's how we're going to get through this storm together. Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Director Ray and then Secretary Johnson. Director Ray.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone. Winter storm warnings and ice warnings are now in effect through midday Monday for the mountains and the Piedmont. A winter storm watch remains in effect farther east, and as accumulation types and amounts become clearer, the watch will transition to warnings or advisories. Significant wintry precipitation is forecast over the weekend, with major impacts lingering into early next week as dangerously cold temperatures are forecast. Ice accumulation of a quarter inch or more is likely across much of North Carolina Saturday through Monday morning. Areas across the southern mountains, higher elevations into the Blue Ridge Escarpment, and into much of central North Carolina are forecast to see the most impactful ice accumulations, and in some cases, reaching or exceeding 1 inch. As a reminder, ice accumulations of around a ½ inch of ice or more can cause an increase in downed trees or impact power lines and lead to an increase in power outages, as well as hazardous travel conditions. Based on this morning's forecast update, hazardous travel conditions are expected to begin by midday Saturday and will worsen through Sunday and may remain for several days due to those lingering low temperatures. We need all North Carolinians to remain focused on preparing for the potential impacts with a plan and supplies to support you and your family for the next several days. Unnecessary travel not only puts you at risk, but also the public safety personnel, the power crews, and the DOT workers who are working to respond to emergencies, to restore power, and to clear roadways. The State Emergency Response Team, including all our interagency partners, our private sector and nonprofit and volunteer agencies, has been activated here at the State Emergency Operations Center, as well as our regional coordination centers in Kinston, Burlington, and Hickory. We continue to support commodity distribution from our activated warehouses. As of this morning, the State Emergency Response Team has shipped approximately 65 pallets of meals ready to eat, or MREs, and drinking water to assist communities with shelter operations if needed. This is in addition to over 460 cots and blanket shipments to supplement local supply, as well as commodities that have been shipped into local communities over the past several months to assist in building local capacity. Additional commodities are shipping out from our warehouses today into tomorrow. 11 county states of emergency have been declared, and 2 county emergency operations center are activated, with many others monitoring plans to activate this weekend. Communities across the state are opening shelter locations and warming stations. For the most up-to-date information on the resources available in your community, please visit your local government and local emergency management agency's website and social media accounts. Elements of the North Carolina National Guard are active today and pre-positioning across the state to quickly assist the needs of our communities. 95 force packages will be assisting with clearing roadways from downed trees, helping disabled motorists, supplementing our first responders, and assisting with commodity distribution. These force packages include approximately 430 National Guardsmen and women and 170 vehicles, and they will be on station across the state later today. We remain in close coordination with our energy sector partners who are present here at the State EOC and will be closely monitoring power outage information and assisting any needs to quickly restore power in communities that do see outages. The North Carolina Forest Service has placed six task forces on standby to assist local first responders or state agencies with clearing roadways as soon as it's safe to do so. Each task force is comprised of saw crews, heavy equipment, and a mechanic. Additional chainsaw crews are activated, and all 100 counties are staffed with their forestry personnel. Communications personnel and equipment have been pre-deployed to assist with any degradation of 911 systems, radio systems, and phone networks. 44 caches of radios have been deployed to assist with local response efforts, and our partners at the North Carolina Highway Patrol have conducted checks of the systems that support the state's Viper radio system, used by our first responders statewide. As a reminder, 911 should only be used for emergencies. For general information, please call 211 or follow your local government and emergency management websites and social media accounts. We will continue to work with the entire state emergency response team, local and state governments, the private sector, and our nonprofit and volunteer agencies as the forecast continues to evolve to ensure we can support our 11 million North Carolinians. As we go into the weekend, it is imperative that, again, all North Carolinians are prepared for preparedness information and checklists. Please visit readync.gov. Finally, please check on your friends, your family members, and neighbors, or those in your community who may need additional support this weekend. We're going to see significant winter storm impacts, and we are stronger and more resilient together. Thank you, Governor. I'll now turn it over to Secretary Johnson from DOT.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Director Ray. Safety is our top priority at NCDOT, and it remains our key message today. With the likelihood of icy weather creating treacherous travel conditions in the days ahead, we urge people to please stay put if you don't need to be out on the roads. Staying off the roads during and after the storm allows DOT crews, law enforcement, utility crews, and other emergency responders to do their work. We're expecting a storm that is largely going to be ice-related, which makes traveling on the roads that much more challenging. Even if you have a large truck or SUV, driving on icy roads can be nearly impossible. We'll also have implemented immediate towing measures with the cooperation of the State Highway Patrol to help remove any vehicles that have been disabled, to help both facilitate clearing of the roads and also to eliminate danger for those traveling on those roads. People may notice messages that we placed on digital highway signs across the state. Crews will focus on these efforts on highways and primary routes. We will continue the effort until NCDOT and the Highway Patrol determine that it is safe to lift these measures. We're also continuing to monitor forecasts closely with the help of our partners at the National Weather Service. Forecasts help us make informed decisions and ensure we're placing resources where they're needed most. That's especially important when a storm has statewide impacts like this one. Our crews are in the process of wrapping up pre-storm preparations. As the governor noted, the department has applied about 2.8 million gallons of brine on the roads and state system. Nearly all 2,100 DOT employees who are trained to respond to such storms have contributed to this effort. They're now transitioning their focus and equipment to be ready to clear the roads as the storm moves in. This includes removing trees and limbs that may fall. Salt on hand is at 160,000 tons, and we continue to secure additional salt and distribute it across the state. So we're in good shape from a supply standpoint. We're taking all precautions possible because we aren't going to take a chance with your safety. I encourage everyone to stay informed, make safe decisions about travel, and ensure you have all the supplies you need in case this ends up being a long-term event. People can visit drivenc.gov to view the latest road conditions and other storm-related information. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to the governor for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Director Ray. If any of y'all have questions, feel free to go to the microphones on either side of the room. Yes.
Hi, Caroline Yaffa with WRAL News. So since we're expecting icy roadways, what should essential workers, state employees do to make sure that they're safe, and if the roadways are dangerous, and if they feel that it's not safe to travel, what are the impacts that could mean for the community?
Yeah. One area that we have a special concern is whenever you have vulnerable people together, whether that's at a retirement center or at a hospital, and each of those facilities have their own emergency plans. And part of that is having the preparation that folks may have to spend the night at their place of work so that they don't have to travel on the roads back and forth and put themselves at risk or find themselves unable to get back to work where they are desperately needed by the patients or residents of that community. In terms of essential workers for the state, Each department, each agency has its own emergency plan and its own way to notify folks of when they should come to work and if they should come to work. Obviously, we don't want anyone traveling who absolutely does not need to, and if they can't get there safely, they should not be on the road.
Hi, this is Laura Hackett with Blue Ridge Public Radio. I'm wondering if the state has been in touch with cell service providers and if damage to cell towers and outages are anticipated.
We have been here at the Emergency Management Center. We have our private sector partners, whether they're the utilities or they're the cell phone companies, the communications networks. And so we're in regular contact with them, and I'll ask Director Ray to answer to your specific question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the question. As the governor said, I think one of the things we continue to reinforce here is what we do is not a public sector function only. And so our commercial telecom partners are here as a part of what we do. They are here in the EOC. We are closely monitoring with them what impacts to their networks they are seeing and how then we need to pivot to adjust resources, whether it's an infrastructure issue, whether it's a technology issue, or some other issue kind of impacting their provision of service. So they are very much a part of what we do. They are here with us and are part of our state emergency response team. And as we move through this event, that's one of the areas that we're going to continue to remain significantly focused on is our network statewide to make sure that folks are able to receive any type of emergency alerts or information, certainly from local emergency services.
Just to follow up real quick, so through the monitoring that has already happened, any indication that cell outages will occur?
Well, we're always concerned. When you have an ice event like this, it can topple towers. It can have trees fall into towers. So there will also be an incredible demand on the system. Folks are going to be at home. They're going to want information. So we expect that people are really going to be maximally utilizing the networks, which will cause their own issues. That's one reason why we encourage folks to get battery-operated radios so that you can stay informed even if you lose communications through modern means.
Michael Perchik, ABC 11. To that point, from a staffing perspective at EOC or local county storm operations centers, what capabilities exist for them to work remotely in the event they're not physically able to get there in person?
Yeah, well, as I said, each agency of government, whether it's state agency or county agency, has their own emergency plan. So they know exactly what to do, who they've identified before the storm hits, who are emergency personnel. They've identified whether that person can perform his or her work remotely or must come into the office. Obviously, we need law enforcement, we need fire, we need EMS to be in their places of work so that when they need to respond, they can. This is one thing, unfortunately, because North Carolina has experienced so many storms of all types, whether they're winter storms like this or hurricanes, the governmental entities, they're well prepared.
As a follow-up, can you speak to the lessons learned from some of those prior storms and how you're able to kind of troubleshoot some of the issues you may have run into in the past to try and avoid them moving forward?
Yeah, I'll have Director Ray speak to the redundancies, but clearly we became too dependent on a single means of communication, which is our cell phone. And so we have worked hard to ensure that we have redundant means of communicating, certainly among emergency personnel. And I will ask Director Ray to come forward and speak more.
Thank you, sir. I think specific to the communications point that the governor was making, and I think to expand on what we talked about yesterday, I think most of the agencies you see up here on the stage, most of the agencies represented in the state EOC or our regional centers and certainly locally have taken lessons learned most recently from Helene or some of the more recent events and invested in some of the redundant satellite-based technologies for redundant communication. We have a variety of redundant communications platforms, whether it's radio caches, mobile towers, mobile data systems that are able to be deployed from a variety of agencies out across the state. Some of the pre-planning, for example, that our 911 community in the state has really been focused on over the last couple of years is a failover system so that if a local 911 center in a jurisdiction is impacted, there is a failover plan for an unimpacted area to be able to continue to receive 911 calls. And again, that's the great work that community has done in reaction to many of our events. I think broadly, we always want to take a retrospective look at what we do and how we do it and how we can get better. We've done that for every event, low-level ones or major ones like we've experienced in the last couple of years, and it's certainly one that we will continue to do as we all move through this event.
And just to add, I'll ask Colonel Johnson to come forward. He just briefed me on an investment that the Highway Patrol has done in the Viper network to help ensure its continued functionality even when a tower or two gets knocked out. And the radios, you can talk about radios.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Governor. To that question, so the patrol maintains the state communication system across the state. And one of the investments that I was explaining to the governor is that they have the ability to adjust. So if a tower is impacted by a storm, a tower that's in an area that's not impacted can readjust its microwave system and overlap that area. So the stuff continues to work and it can communicate all our emergency services partners that operate on that system. Then another thing we have, so if you have a local agency has their communication system that's not totally on the Viper state system, we have, Director Ray mentioned it, caches of radios. What that is handheld radios that operate on this state communication system. We have about a little over 3,000 of those. We can deploy those things into those communities and hand them to these agencies so they can operate. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions in the room? If not, we'll go to those who are calling in. If you could please identify yourself and where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Claudia Rivera Coto with Enlace Latino NC. Regarding shelters, what assurance are there in place to ensure Latino communities can access them without being questioned about immigration status or required to show state IDs or even having the information shared with ICE?
Yeah. The shelters are operated locally, and we are in contact with our county management agencies, emergency management agencies. 11 counties have so far declared a state of emergency. Others we expect will do so today. Whether or not a local emergency has been declared, many counties are preparing either shelters or warming stations, and they are welcoming all people to come in. Director, anything to add? Thank you. Any other questions?
As a follow-up to that, there are no written policies that explicitly prevent asking this type of information from the residents?
Can't speak to what the county policies are. Director Ray?
I think, as the governor said, I think our focus here at a state level and the focus of the public safety communities at a local level for an event like this is how do we provide necessary support and services to all North Carolinians. And so they are going to implement those warming stations based on their local operations. And again, their focus is how do we get people safe? So I would reinforce what the governor said is that locally they are making preparations to deal with all people in their communities.
We don't want anyone who is in need of shelter at risk of freezing to death to not seek that help.
We're not seeing any additional questions online.
Thank you all for being here.
All right, so you have been watching a live briefing from Governor Josh Stein from the Emergency Operations Center in Raleigh. I'm Sam Walker, back with you here on the Outer Banks. We're going to kill that feed and get ourselves ready to go here. Let's see. There we go. And no, I am not Governor Josh Stein. I am Sam Walker. So let me turn that caption off for you. Glad to have you along here with us on this Friday morning, January the 23rd. It is going to get busy. And yeah, it's going to get busy all across both states over the next 48 hours, really the next 24 hours. Really, things really, showtime is tomorrow. Kickoff is tomorrow for the bulk of the wintry precipitation. So our plan here for you is for the next few moments, we want to hear from you. We've had a couple of folks asking questions, and we will be glad to answer questions about where you are. So hit me up here on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're watching us, and we'll get to your comments in just a moment, because we're going to scroll through quite a bit of information here and try to get you a broad picture for each state, narrow it down to the different forecast offices from the National Weather Service, that hopefully will help you see a better picture of exactly pinpoint where you are watching us here on this Friday morning, about to be Friday afternoon. So just trying to get things queued up here and get set. Let's give you a big picture look first, as man, there is just a lot of colors, bright pinks and blues and oranges, etc. So let me get here, and let's see if that's the one we want to share. Yes, it is, and I'm going to get out of the way so you can see this better. That is the overall picture from the National Weather Service right now, as we are at noon. And yeah, look at all this. It's like somebody just took a bag of Skittles and threw them across the United States this morning. Has been that way for the last couple hours, but we've seen some more colors getting in there, including, as you can see, those magentas around. Yeah, it is the colors of the rainbow, Jay. Yeah, the magentas have started to show up in the Carolinas. That's coming in over the last hour, in fact, as the National Weather Service offices in Columbia and in Greenville, Spartanburg have issued ice storm warnings for the upstate of South Carolina, pretty much the southwest mountains, the majority of the mountains of North Carolina. Winter storm warning now in effect for the border counties of the Piedmont on over towards Boone and the high country there in North Carolina. Those coming down from National Weather Service office in Blacksburg. And you can see we've got some type of winter weather advisory, whether it's an advisory, a watch, or a storm warning, winter storm warning, or as I said, ice storm warning, etc., stretching from extreme eastern Arizona all the way to the tip of Maine and all the way up to the Canadian border along the upper Midwest. That is how massive this particular event is going to be for the majority of the country, and it's going to be this way through the weekend. All right, so there is the overall picture. Let's jump right in, because we do have some concerns to deal with before the main event arrives, and that is wind chills. This is a wind chill map for the next 3 days, but for the majority of us, this wind chill temperatures are for tonight across the Carolinas. Starting in South Carolina, you can see overnight tonight, early tomorrow morning, we're going to see wind chills down into the teens in the upstate and into the Midlands as you head on down towards the low country in the 20s. Of course, Charleston and Hilton Head down, they're going to stay right around the 30s. But we are going to see wind chills into the teens tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, for a good chunk of South Carolina. Now, let me switch over to, let's see, this is North Carolina. And as you can see, single digits for the northern tier of North Carolina tomorrow morning. Again, this is a 2-day map, so this is running from tonight through Sunday night. But really, tonight is when we're going to see this coldest air move in ahead of the system. This is from an Arctic cold front that is going to skip on down, slide on across both states tonight, this afternoon and tonight. Where I am on the Outer Banks, we've had cloudy skies all day. Excuse me. We've had cloudy skies throughout the day. And every now and then we've had a few little rain showers come through, just some light stuff, nothing major. Maybe some light rain will come out of this front over the next couple of hours. But really the big question, the big thing is that it's going to drop temperatures down into the 20s, into the teens, and the wind chills are going to get down into the single digits because the winds are going to start cranking up out of the north behind this front. And that's why We do have a wind chill, a cold weather advisory for the extreme northeastern counties in North Carolina, where I am, has a cold weather advisory. We may see that expand out more. Was on the briefing at 9 o'clock this morning with National Weather Service Newport, and Eric Hayden said he is the warning coordination meteorologist there in Newport. He said that they may consider that as the wind chills do get down below 15. That is the criteria for their office. So we may see some additional advisories coming out here this afternoon and evening because of the wind chills. This is just today. This is even getting into what's going to happen here. Oh yeah, sorry, I've been sharing that South Carolina one. Here's the North Carolina map. Apologies on that, guys. There's the North Carolina map that I've been trying to describe to you. So the yeah, this is what happens when you get a radio guy on TV. He does things like that where he forgets, oh yeah, you got images to go with this instead of describing those like I've been doing for the last 3 decades. Anyway, there is the 2-day minimum apparent temperature forecast for North Carolina. Thank you for pointing that out, Jay. I do appreciate that. So, yep. Let's see. All right. So let's get over now to the overall picture as far as what the severity of this storm is going to be as we get into Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday as well, because we're going to have lingering impacts from this on through Monday, even into Tuesday possibly, because temperatures are not going to get out of freezing for a good majority of the region. So this is the Winter Storm Severity Index from the Weather Prediction Center. This is as of, this is a couple hours ago was the most recent update at 7 a.m., but it does run through Monday at 7 a.m. Obviously, much of the area is going to see some type of winter weather. Winter driving conditions are possible, mainly along the coastal sections of North Carolina, maybe possibly right off the coast as you head on down towards, say, Jackson. Okay, get a better line of this. US 17, which runs really the spine, if you will, of eastern North Carolina and coastal South Carolina as well in the low country. That is kind of the line that we're using in North Carolina anyway, is kind of delineate where things are going to be nothing to starting to get bad is US 17. And you can kind of see that with this map. And you pull this map if you go to the WPC site. You can see a little bit of a grayish area. That's where the winter weather area kind of starts. Then we start to get into the minor impacts as you move to the west. As you can see, even up in the Hampton Roads, Virginia, the south side anyway, they're going to be dealing with minor impacts. So expect a few inconveniences to daily life, winter driving conditions, and use caution when driving. Running on down towards Washington, North Carolina, New Bern, Jacksonville, just outside Wilmington. We head on across the South Carolina border and starting to get into those areas there. Between 95 and 17, I'm going to use that as kind of my gauge as you head on down south, and then it kind of curls on back as you get towards the Savannah River there. The darker yellowish orange, that's orange, moderate impacts. Those areas right along the I-95 corridor west, those areas on over towards Columbia, and then as you head towards the Triangle in North Carolina, really the Sand Hills area of North Carolina and on down into the Piedmont of South Carolina and into North Carolina is where we start seeing the major impacts. And then the extreme impacts where we have right now the ice storm warning in effect. That's those purple areas in the southern mountains of North Carolina on up into towards the high country of North Carolina, and then right along the North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia borders there where the extreme impacts are expected. All right, this is the latest from the National Weather Service office in Columbia. For South Carolina, what we're looking at for snowfall, this is not going to be a snowfall event, folks. We're going to talk about snow. We're going to see some snow, but this obviously is going to be an ice storm event. The ice storm is what we're all going to be talking about. What's going to be remembered out of this system is the ice, the freezing rain, not so much the snow. But we're going to start out with some snow, and then it's going to transition to mixed precipitation. and let me go back a little bit because I say snow and sleet. What you're seeing when you see snowfall range amounts in the National Weather Service, they're talking about both snow and sleet. They get categorized into one, or get subcategoried, or get grouped into one category. Snow and sleet all get grouped into the snowfall. So this could be snowflakes, this could be sleet, this could be, that's what we're talking about right now when we're talking about these snowfall amounts. This is a storm total through 7 a.m. Monday. As of this morning, around 10 o'clock, is when this was issued. And these are updated periodically throughout the day, but we were getting prepped for the show here. So this was the most recent graphic. You're looking at a trace to, around a trace along the I-95 corridor, maybe a trace in the Midlands, and on up into the upstate. You start seeing anywhere from about a trace to an inch. With a little higher totals right up along the North Carolina, South Carolina line, north of Spartanburg and Greenville. All right. That's where we're looking at for South Carolina. When we look at the ice, that's where things get very, very ugly. Maybe a light glaze just west of the Grand Strand and just outside Charleston. Starting to get farther up towards the 95 corridor, starting towards Florence and Sumter and those areas. That's when we start seeing a little more accumulation of ice. Anything above a quarter inch is when we start to get really, really concerned. Is anything above a quarter inch of ice accumulation, that's when we start having power outages. That's when we have trees down. And then anything higher than that, it just gets worse and worse. And as you can see, as the farther inland you go, the farther away from the ocean you get into the Midlands and on up to the upstate, it just grows and grows and grows. That is what that ice accumulation between now and Monday is looking like for South Carolina. Shifting over, we talked earlier and had this question yesterday and didn't get to it, but I wanted to get a little bit into the wind forecast because obviously the top gusts, those wind gusts, could contribute to problems with power outages, with trees coming down, with ice being on stuff, and you're adding that extra wind load. Obviously, we've got tree damage that goes back to Hurricane Helene as you get on up towards the mountains. So we've got to, factor that in as well. This is the peak wind gusts through 7 a.m. We may see a lot of this wind Friday night and into Saturday, and then not so much on Sunday. But still a concern is that we're going to see wind gusts ranging pretty much across South Carolina right above 20 miles an hour. It shouldn't be too much of a problem, but again, it's something to factor in. We do see some higher winds as you get up into the North Carolina mountains and out on the coast of North Carolina over the next 3 days, and we'll get to those in just a second. All right, let's shift our attention now. Oh, yeah. Again, I did not share that tab, did I? There's the winds. Apologies, folks. Still learning this software here. So there's the wind forecast in the 20s for South Carolina. All right. Again, the wind gusts, the peak wind gusts through 7 a.m. in the 20s pretty much across the state. Majority of that is expected Friday night, maybe Saturday, but when we really see the ice accumulation into Sunday, may not be as much of an issue as the storm center itself starts moving up. We start to see a change in the wind direction, and rather coming out of a northeast or even a northerly direction, may starting get a little western component and eventually a southwestern component as it passes by. So there you go. That's our wind forecast. Now let's shift our attention north of the border. Hi, hello. Yes, that was not supposed to be the click. The click was supposed to be share. Let's see. We'll go back to our wind gust here. And then we are going to go to our next page. We're going to share this tab. Here is the official National Weather Service forecast for North Carolina as of this morning. And this is what they are expecting for North Carolina: snow and sleet accumulation. As you can see, again, coastal areas and really the eastern halves of both states still in the eastern quadrant are pretty much a trace to maybe a half inch. Elizabeth City, a half inch. North of Argan Inlet on the Outer Banks, maybe a trace. Nothing on Hatteras Island, nothing on Ocracoke as far as snow and sleet accumulation. Not to say it won't start that way, but it, and those coastal areas on down south, as you head on down again along the US 17 corridor, we may see things start as some snow and sleet, but not much accumulation. Maybe a trace as you get into interior sections of eastern North Carolina and the I-95 corridor, start to pick up about an inch as we get to the Triangle and the Sand Hills. We get on out to the Piedmont. That's where things start to pick up snow-wise. And obviously in the high country and up on the escarpment, the Mount Airy area, that could see 4 inches. Mount Airy could see 4 inches. They may end up being the snow king out of this whole scenario. But again, this is a snow-sleet combination out of this storm system. So there you go, North Carolina. Obviously, you look to the north, and that's where the snow and sleet really starts to hammer things up as you get into the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Shenandoah Valley up in Virginia. Looks like the folks up there in the Commonwealth are going to get slammed with the snow while we deal with the ice to the south. All right, here is the ice accumulation map as of mid-morning. And as you can see, those purples are starting to crop up along the South Carolina, North Carolina border out west, and even along just inside the I-95 corridor. We're starting to see it a little bit more as you get on the other side of Roanoke Rapids and on out to Henderson in North Carolina. They may see some significant ice accumulations out there. Anything above a quarter inch is considered dangerous. And anything above that, you start getting into the halves and three quarters. We're going to have power outages. We're going to have trees down. So you can see there a majority of North Carolina, of about 2/3 of the state, is well above the quarter inch ice accumulation out of this storm system. As you head east, it kind of tapers off pretty rapidly until there's almost nothing. And there again, you can see the influence that the Gulf Stream and the Atlantic Ocean, even though the water temperatures at the surface are in the upper 40s right now on the northern beaches of the Outer Banks, the southern beaches around 50. And as you head on down the Crystal Coast and the Treasure Coast, it's getting into the upper 50s and maybe even a 60 here and there on the surface water temperatures. It's that Gulf Stream out there and that warm air getting moved into the system, and that's why coastal sections are going to miss out on this particular storm. I talked earlier about the winds in South Carolina. Here's the wind forecast for North Carolina. You can see wind gusts in the high country up to 40 miles an hour, Asheville around 30, and again, the coastal areas around the 30s. Thankfully, the coastal areas not having to deal with the ice, so the winds won't be a problem. Not expecting any coastal impacts with this storm, even though we're going to see a period of gale force winds out of the open waters and the sounds for a couple of days, maybe, tonight, Friday night through Saturday and into early Sunday. Not enough really to cause any coastal flooding issues on the sounds, no overwash issues on the Outer Banks. So don't expect to see any houses falling in the ocean in Buxton out of the storm. So good news there. As we progress across, you can see some gusts above 20 miles an hour pretty much across a majority of the state between now and Monday. But as I've said before, this wind forecast really is for Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday midday, when the winds are expected to be at their peak. So may not be as much of a factor when we get all the ice accumulation on Sunday, but still something to consider is keeping an eye on what the winds do, because that may contribute to our issues. All right, so I want to do this, and this is some information that is readily available to the public. These briefings come from the individual National Weather Service offices that cover your area, so you may want to go look those up. Some of them have been updated pretty recently. Some of them are from early this morning because they really don't have another briefing scheduled until this afternoon. I'm going to start with the National Weather Service office in Charleston that covers southeastern South Carolina. This is their key messages. Widespread precipitation expected Saturday through Sunday night. Freezing rain possible Saturday night into early Sunday across inland portions of the South Carolina low country. And then very cold temperatures will occur early next week. Just want to I'm going to quickly scroll through this because there's a lot of information that we can get to. We've kind of sized it with trying to run through what the overall statewide maps give you. But this is what they're thinking there in Charleston. There's those low temperatures. Monday night into Tuesdays when really things get cold down that way. is really the Monday, Tuesday scenarios when you're going to be in the teens for wind chills along coastal South Carolina, southeast coastal South Carolina, and down into eastern Georgia. This is the Wilmington forecast weather briefing. They really had no major changes. Precipitation is going to linger longer into Sunday night, but as rain, so nothing wintry down there. So this, of course, covering the Grand Strand, covering southeast North Carolina, and on into as you get on out towards the I-95 corridor and the I-20 areas, Florence and Dillon and those areas. They are, forecast confidence is higher along and west of the I-95 corridor, given the uncertainty with the location of the wintry weather transition along the coast. For the folks in the Wilmington and Florence areas, some light rain today, transitioning to a wintry mix Saturday afternoon. It is too early to determine where exactly the transition zone will be located. Specific details regarding ice accumulations remain uncertain again for northeast South Carolina and southeast North Carolina. The primary wintry weather type is expected to be freezing rain there. Their main window of concern late Saturday night, and early Sunday, and then precipitation will change to all rain there late Sunday afternoon as temperatures warm. All right, here is the latest from the Columbia National Weather Service office. This was at 5:30. I'm going to give it a quick refresh here, and that's their last briefing was around 5:30. They note winter storm watches remain in effect for areas along I-20, including the Augusta and Columbia metro areas. Potential for ice accumulation over a wide area, or area wide, but highest confidence significant impacts remains in the northern portion of the area. The key messages coming out of the National Weather Service in Columbia: confidence continues to increase for a significant winter storm this weekend, especially north and along portions of I-20. Freezing rain continues to be the main concern. There is a better consensus that wintry precipitation will begin late Saturday afternoon or early evening. Some ice accumulations expected everywhere, but the extent of significant accumulations, again, a quarter inch or higher, further south is still uncertain. And again, as everybody else has been saying, and this is kind of becoming repetitive, very cold temperatures following the event may allow impacts to linger into early next week. So that's what Columbia is thinking. Here's where the big stuff is happening. And I need to jump to a different map. This is from the 4 a.m. briefing from Greenville-Spartanburg. They've made a lot of changes. So the ice storm warning was included in this. But their main thing here's what is to me, the worst of the worst is going to happen in the Greenville-Spartanburg forecast area. Ice storm warning in effect 1 p.m. Saturday to 1 p.m. Monday for northeast Georgia. Rest of the winter storm watch still in effect 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. That has changed. Let me see if I can pull the right map here, because that has changed since we last looked at it. I got that graphic earlier, and I'm having to scroll through a lot of my graphics right now to see if I can find that, because we just got that in. Okay. All right. We do have an ice storm warning now, covers a good portion of northwest South Carolina and southwest North Carolina. Does that make sense? So that's there's what the main focus. That ice storm warning that you see here, that's expanded upwards, northward and eastward now to a much larger area. So let me go and pull that for you, because I want to share that graphic. It really kind of shows where we are now with regards to warning. So that's probably the biggest update. Here we go. Let me see if I can get this to share properly. So bear with me here. That's not what I want. So this is what happens when you're a one-man show. Sometimes things can kind of get a little wacky. All right. We need to go here. We need to go here. We need to stop sharing that. And we're going to go to me, and we're going to share a different graphic. Yes, screen share. And we want to go to, will it allow me to share from that? No, it is not letting me do that. I apologize for this, because I really want to show this graphic, and I need to pull it into a different area. So let me go back to our shares here, and let's see here. Where do we leave off? All right. We left off in Spartanburg, so let's go to Spartanburg, give you the latest briefing, then we'll go back to that graphic while I'm talking about it. And go here. Let's see. Okay, there you go. So this was their briefing at 1 a.m. Again, significant ice accumulation on power lines and tree limbs, causing widespread and long-lasting power outages. So again, it looks like, from what we can tell, the main area of problems, or the biggest issues, it looks like is going to be in the Greenville-Spartanburg area with regards to... No, that's not it. I apologize. I want to find this graphic here, and it's not letting me have a... let's see. Is that it? That is not it. Okay. James is going to be slapping me down now because I'm messing up all kinds of stuff. Oh, man. Okay. I think I now have one more way I can pull this up for you. I really want to show this warnings. That's what I was looking for. It's just labeled as warnings. I know because of where I pulled it. Okay. Let's see here. It's going to let me do this here in a second. Bear with me, folks. Thanks for joining us here on the Carolina Weather Group. This is not normally... Yeah, here we go. Share this tab. We're going to share this tab, and we're going to go over here and show you. Okay, yeah, this is in my photo editing software. You can see how big those purples now are covering a good chunk of South Carolina and North Carolina and into Georgia. That's where the ice storm warning has been issued. So there you go. That is the graphic I wanted to get you. That is the one that really shows now what we're getting into as we get into the 24-hour window of when the precipitation is going to start here in the Carolinas. All right, let's see. That briefing from GSP was a little outdated, so we're going to go to it anyway and wrap up a couple of things out of that. Consider delaying all travel until after roads improve. Like I said, they are going to upgrade ice storm and winter storm warnings likely later today, and that's pretty much everybody. All right, here is Blacksburg, which covers the northwest corner of North Carolina, all the way over from Yancey County, all the way over to Watauga County, so the high country there, and the northern Piedmont. Heavy mixed precipitation, mainly snow and sleet along and north of US 460. That's in Virginia, snow, sleet, and freezing rain south. Dangerously cold temperatures will last through much of next week. Here's what their impacts look like. Area-wide with snow, again, snow and sleet. Ice and mix. Sleet, freezing rain will mix in at times, especially in southern areas. Sleet and ice could bring down limbs and branches. Saturday night through Sunday night. And then the cold and wind chill Sunday night through the end of next week. And again, the snow expected to start Saturday afternoon into Sunday in the Blacksburg forecast area. Now in North Carolina, here's what Raleigh had to say overnight. Refresh that. Okay, because they do have a new briefing out that came out just after 11 o'clock. That shows where the winter storm warnings are now in effect in the Piedmont. So Greensboro, Winston-Salem, the Triad, and areas east all the way over to Orange County now in a winter storm warning. Still a winter storm watch for Raleigh and Durham. The Sandhills in a winter storm watch. And as you can see, the ice storm warning starting to trickle in to their areas, and that may change. In fact, the winter storm watch pretty much covers everything all the way over to I-95 at this point. Their main points on late afternoon Saturday for the initial brief period of snow along the Virginia border, then sleet late Saturday remaining possible into daytime Sunday. Again, this is for central North Carolina. Freezing rain and ice accumulation. Heavy ice accumulations possible for all of central North Carolina, especially in the north and west of the Piedmont. So the Triad's going to get slammed with this, and very hazardous travel conditions expected to develop. Roads will increasingly become slick and dangerous Saturday evening, persisting at least through Monday night. We'll move east now out to my part of the world. This was from the Newport National Weather Service office. This was their latest briefing, which was at 4:30. Greatest freezing rain accumulation threat for areas along west of Highway 17. Winter storm watch, as you can see, Greenville, Kinston, on down into Duplin County, and up to Martin County, so Williamston and Hamilton, those areas. They're under winter storm watch. Everything else east of there is not expected to get any major impacts out of this. And finally, I wanted to go to Wakefield because they cover the northeast corner of North Carolina. And as you can see, parts of the area are in a winter storm watch, including Chowan and Gates County, over to Windsor and Bertie County, Hertford County, and Northampton County. They're in the winter storm watch. This area also has been placed in a cold weather advisory for tonight and tomorrow morning, as I mentioned back at the top of the show. All right, so that is where we stand there. Let's see. We got a couple of more things I wanted to show. Yes, okay. So that's where we're at as far as the weather is concerned. Let me share this one here. As far as preparations, of course, we had Governor Josh Stein a moment ago, and talking about all the preparations going on statewide. Duke Energy, they posted this video earlier. Didn't mean to go to that window. Here we go. This was from earlier today. This is crews from Florida rolling out last night to head our way. They're sending nearly 12,000 line workers and 2,000 vegetation resources from their teams across the rest of their service area into the Carolinas to be ready to go with preps here for this storm system. That's from the folks at Duke Energy. I know one other map I did want to get to before we take questions, and that is this one. Interesting to note, this is North Carolina. I can go back and get the South Carolina one as well. We're going to get quite a bit of precipitation overall. This is everything, whether it's rain, snow, sleet, freezing rain. That's pretty significant for a winter storm. We don't usually see QPF like this. We don't usually see 1.5 to 2 inches, or even 2 or 3 inches, maybe even 3 or 4 inches out in the southwest mountains of North Carolina. And that map kind of trickles down into South Carolina. Let me see if here's this. Let me get the South Carolina map ready for you, because that'll give you a better idea. We don't normally see anything like this out of a winter storm. So there's North Carolina. So on top of snow, sleet, and this is, a combination with some rain in there as well. And there's some areas that are going to see some pretty significant precipitation out of this. Same thing in South Carolina. Oops, didn't mean to stop. I want to share. Here it is, QPF. Yeah, this is the one I want to show. And like I said, we'll go to our questions in just a second, because I do have to jump offline here shortly to get over on WBTV Plus. Wrong station. WCNC Plus. Sorry, James. I do have to get over there at the top of the hour for an update on what's not happening out here. Here's the 3-day forecast precipitation for South Carolina. And you could see maybe 3 to 4 inches right up along the northwest border there. 2 to 3 inches in the upstate along the 85 corridor. 1.5 to 2 inches, in the Midlands, and it tapers off so we go farther south. But it's still going to be wet out of the storm. And again, it's odd to see this much of precipitation coming out of a winter storm. That's been talked about quite a bit. All right, there you go. That's where we're at as far as all the graphics we got to show and all the discussion and all the rambling. Let me go to questions now, because we had quite a few folks who jumped in the chat, whether it's on YouTube. Let's see. RJ, right here where I am, Currituck County, North Carolina, the most northeastern county in the state. Probably don't see nothing. Not quite. We'll see things start as wintry precipitation here and then get a transition to all rain. Maybe a slushy accumulation of a 1/2 inch or maybe an inch is what things look like right now. Let's go on down. Let's see. Yeah. And you got a good point. Charlotte's now magenta. Yep. Charlotte is right in the target there now with that ice storm warning. Steve over here in Elizabeth City, about the same thing as what I just mentioned in Currituck, maybe a little bit more snowfall accumulation Saturday night before we get the transition to rain on Sunday, but that's really going to be it. It's just going to be a slush out here. Let's see. Wendell. Well, Wendell, you are Triangle, North Carolina, on the eastern side of Raleigh. And as I mentioned, you guys kind of in that target of maybe a little accumulation of snow and sleet, then transitioning to freezing rain Saturday night into Sunday. And current forecast anywhere from a half inch, right around a half inch, maybe a little bit up to about 0.6 of an inch of ice accretion with this for Wendell. Let's see. Yeah. Scuba Dan and Raleigh. Yeah. Weather wet map can swing within hours, so better wait until Saturday morning for totals. That's a good point. Scuba Dan, we could see things change, and that's one thing we've talked about. Monitor your forecast. Keep an eye on your area from the National Weather Service or your trusted source. This is still evolving. It's kind of come into a better focus and more, a better focus of what exactly we're going to see over the next 72 hours. But it's still kind of, it can still change, especially those areas that are right on the edge of seeing a 1/4 inch of ice to nothing, or maybe a half inch of ice, right in those border areas, right in the areas where that transition happens between high totals and low totals. Those areas are going to probably change some because, again, we're going to be going down for that. Yep, Angela, thanks for jumping on. We do appreciate you sharing that, and thanks for the coverage. Glad to have. Let's see. Kayla has asked about Gastonia. Gastonia, probably anywhere, just like Charlotte, you're probably looking at over a half inch of ice accumulation out of this, and maybe even higher, maybe even upwards of 0.7. Latest forecast map for the Charlotte area for the Metroplex. That's not the Metroplex. What did we used to call that back in the day before we just called it Charlotte? The Megalopolis. Yeah, so about 0.7 of an inch. That's probably what we're looking at for the Gastonia area out of this. Let's see. Yep. Hey, Dipstick. Glad we could jump in for you and do this during the lunchtime hour. Hey, glad we were able to do that. Got some questions from other states. Louisiana. We've been so focused on what's happening here in the Carolinas, haven't really looked at down there. Good idea. Northwest Louisiana. I think you're Shreveport. Go to the Shreveport, Louisiana National Weather Service office website. It's a good place to look. Same thing for Kentucky. Yep. I had somebody else, Jake, asking about Kentucky. You can kind of see, I can look at there. Probably looks like Southern Kentucky is going to get about a 1/4 inch of ice accumulation, maybe even as you head down to the Tennessee border, close to about 0.4 of an inch of ice accumulation. Nick Ickes over there in G Vegas. My man, it's about a 1/4 inch possible. Greenville is on that transition line where it could do something, it may do nothing. That's one of those places I just talked about. You got to watch the forecast because they're going to be changing over time here as we get into it until the actual event happens, because Greenville is in an area that's right on the transition. It could not. So that's Greenville, North Carolina. So keep an eye on that. Geek, you got a good point. Geek Walter. Yeah, Asheville can be tough down there in that valley. It can get a little tough. And of course, we're looking at a 1/2 inch there, current forecast of ice accretion for Asheville. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Let's see. Laurinburg, Sandhills, you're maybe looking at just over a 1/4 inch. So you're right on that edge of seeing some pretty significant impacts from this. Anything a 1/4 inch or higher of ice accumulation, that's significant. Rockingham, right now, the current forecast map putting almost 0.4 of an inch of ice there. So you're going to be between the 1/2 inch or between a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch in Laurinburg. So there you go. Greensboro, we just talked about some of the highest amounts possible in the Piedmont. Around a 1/2 inch of ice, Ashley. Let's see. KKP's asking about Raleigh. Yep. You're kind of in that 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch range, 0.63 of an inch of ice accretion, ice accumulation for RDU. Lincolnton, yep, in the 0.7. Yep, 0.7 of an inch. Thomasville, I'd say about the same thing. Again, the triad, the I-85 corridor, That's probably going to be I-85 and then I-26, the upper end of I-26, and I-40 out that way. Anything in the mountains, anything from along the I-85 corridor, that's kind of the target for the highest ice accumulations. Brevard, yep, you guys are looking at probably a half inch, if not more. And let's see, what's that? Let's see. Weather grid. I'm just scrolling through. Winston-Salem again. We talked about it. The triad's going to get about a half inch to 6/10. Good question, Dipstick, about Spartanburg and in Quest. Everybody, really. How long can I expect ice to linger into next week? Well, the temperatures are going to have a hard time getting out of the freezing area. It's going to be tough to get out above freezing for a couple of days next week. The sun will help with some of that. We are expecting some clear skies. I'm just going to do a quick glance at the National Weather Service forecast for later this week. It looks pretty much like we're sunny for Tuesday and Wednesday, at least out here in my end of the world. But I'll take a look at Greenville for you there. And Dipstick, and let's see, sunny skies all next week, temperatures around 36 for a high, but lows Monday night 7, Tuesday night 16, Wednesday night 17. So it's going to be a thaw, refreeze, thaw, refreeze, thaw, refreeze. Even though temperatures are going to get just barely above freezing, we'll have enough sunshine that should help melt some of this precipitation, some of this ice accumulation next week. But then we get the refreeze, so the black ice remains a concern. So that's where we look. I'm not even going to mention anything beyond Wednesday next week because there is some crazy stuff out there. Frank Strait was sending us models runs from last night for next week, but we're not getting into that. It's too far out in the future. Still a lot of question marks. We were thinking what this time last week? Yeah, maybe a hint there was something coming. By what, Monday we had, we're going to get a foot of snow in North Carolina. Look at what we're getting now, which is an ice storm. A lot of questions in here. We're going to have to wrap things up shortly, but Montgomery County, in North Carolina, as said before, so you're looking, just east of the Charlotte area, between Charlotte and Greensboro there in the Piedmont, the southern Piedmont, you're looking at about over a quarter inch, probably close to a half inch of ice accretion from this in Montgomery County. Charleston, South Carolina, sadly, you're just going to get a cold rain. You might see a little bit of sleet. You might see a little bit of snow to start. But for the most part, Charleston, it's just going to be a rain event. Let's see. I'm going to have to admit that my knowledge of South Carolina is lacking with certain towns. So give me a second here as I pull up a map, because this is just, I got somebody said Pageland, Christina, Pageland, which is right across the border from Wingate and Monroe in North Carolina. So right there on the border, you're kind of on that edge of the Piedmont and the Sandhills where it transitions. You're looking at, let me get my ice map back up here. Where's my ice map? Way over here. Okay, we're still scrolling through. So Pageland, you could see anything from a quarter inch on up to about a half inch there in Pageland, South Carolina. Let's see. All right. Thanks, Christina, for that one. Tina, I talked about it earlier with us in here in Currituck. We're going to start out with snow tomorrow afternoon. Slow sleet mix, and then change to all rain early on Saturday morning. Let's see. Crow's Night and Joe Mathis, you both kind of had the same area. Anderson, South Carolina, anywhere from 3/10 to almost an inch of ice for Anderson. Wow, that's crazy. If you guys got an inch of ice, same thing. State line in Spartanburg County, I'd say about the same thing. You guys are right in the heart of well over an inch. Let's see. I'll hit you up there with that one. Fayetteville, again, the Sandhills, looking at anything from a quarter to a half inch. And Myrtle Beach, Again, kind of like what I said with Charleston, kind of what we're dealing with up here on the Outer Banks. Maybe some snow, maybe some sleet, changing all rain, cold rain right on into Monday morning. Troutman, let's see, man, brain just shut down. Why can I not think Troutman? I apologize. So yeah, that's right. You guys are Lake Norman. Yep. Again, if we say Charlotte, that's pretty much Troutman. You're going to probably be looking at about the same thing as Charlotte. Anywhere from a quarter inch to a half inch, maybe higher, maybe a half inch to around 3/4 of an inch for the folks in Troutman. Same thing for Statesville. You guys are probably looking at about the same thing, Kenneth. Whiteville, good question from Whiteville. Don't be surprised that you don't get a little more ice than I think everybody's expecting, maybe about 1/10 to 1/4. You're right on that edge. I talked about the transition line with Greenville. Whiteville is on the same kind of situation, that you're in that transition between one scenario to another, and all it's going to dictate on that is forecast track over the next 24 hours. Danielle, don't ask me on that. I'm not trying to be snarky. I'm not trying to be smart or anything like that with you. We don't know. If there's ice on the roads, expect it. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. That's probably what I can tell you. Roxborough, Roxborough has traditionally been the snow capital of the Triangle when it comes to these events, or any event. And right now, you're looking at probably a half inch of ice, if not more. You're right on that border where things go to a 3/4 inch forecast as of this morning. So expect it. Can expect a little less due to more sleet. Now, it's not. Don't focus on the snow and sleet. You need to focus on the freezing rain potential with this. All right, got Troutman. Will I be able to drive from Snowshoe to Wilmington on Monday? Well, I'm not going to say no, and I'm not going to say yes. Part of it is you're going through a lot of areas that are used to dealing with snow. Part of it is most of your trip is on interstates, 64 to 77. But once you get to a certain point, probably not. That might be a tough drive there, Nicholas, from Snowshoe to Wilmington on Monday. Although if the sun does come out like it's supposed to by Monday afternoon, maybe Tuesday's probably going to be a better bet. All right. Edneyville. Got somebody checking in. Anja from Edneyville. You're going to have to remind me where you guys are. Google Maps. Oh, yeah. You guys are down there in that. Yeah, you're unfortunately there in Edneyville. You're going to get probably the worst of this. Looking at our maps, looking at what the National Weather Service is telling us as far as the ice accumulation, Edneyville is right in that purple, unfortunately. So anything 3/4 inch to an inch is possible with this. Talked about Whiteville a moment ago, Rockingham County, yeah, Reedsville and Stoneville, and that's where my mom's family's from, in Rockingham County, North Carolina. Probably, yep. You're looking at half inch of ice. Yeah, that's where the latest maps are. 3/4 of an inch. No, I'm sorry, 3/10 of an inch to about a half inch is what that's going to be. Kings Mountain, again, it's Kings Mountain. You're probably, I'd say you guys are on that edge of the 1 inch or higher from what we're seeing right now. All right. Yep. And let's see. I think Jay's got a point. Jay's got a point in the chat. And late night Lisa just kind of jumped in with this. And freezing rain is no joke when it comes to our infrastructure. That's for sure. This is going to be a big time hit if these ice forecasts do play out, and we do expect them to. This freezing rain forecasts do play out. It's going to be a pretty tough couple of days into next week for a lot of areas. So, all right, let's see. Anybody else? Highlands is going to be our last stop on the, hey, what's going to happen in my area? Highlands, you probably, again, you're in that 1 inch or higher. 1 inch or higher there in Highlands. So, unfortunately, that's probably what you're looking at. All right. We're going to have to get out of here. I got a hit coming up with James and over on WCNC TV Plus here at the top of the hour to share a little bit of what is not happening here on the Outer Banks. So we will get out of here. Thanks for joining us on this extended winter weather update. We plan to be doing more of these through the weekend with the Carolina Weather Group team. If we do have a briefing from Governor McMaster in South Carolina or Governor Stein from North Carolina on Saturday, we'll bring those to you. Sunday, same thing. If we get those, we'll definitely have those. Otherwise, we'll have coverage throughout the morning, afternoon, evening. We haven't quite nailed that down yet, but we will be getting also our WeatherNet up, which is going to have your live coverage, going to have cameras from all over the Carolinas. It's going to have the latest conditions, all that. So what to do today? Get ready. If you haven't already, go get your supplies that you need to get through the weekend and into the early part of network. Next week. You don't have to buy everything out, but be prepared. Make sure that generator works. Make sure you got all that stuff done. Make sure you got the gas filled up, etc. And you know what? Honestly, just plan on being a weekend at home, watching some basketball, watching some football, watching some weather. That's probably going to be the best thing. Binge all your Netflix stuff that you haven't binged yet. And be safe out there, guys. Do the prep work. We've got a lot of links here at the Carolina Weather Group on our socials, on the Patreon. If you scroll down in the comments or in the description here on YouTube or Facebook, you'll find links on things like that. All that stuff. So glad to join you here on this Friday afternoon, January 23rd. Stay safe out there, everybody. We will keep you up to date with the latest right here and online with Carolina Weather Group. You can catch me anytime. Sam Walker, obxnews.com for the latest news from out here on the Outer Banks. You can also listen to me on 99.1 The Sound out here on the Outer Banks as well. But again, for everybody here at the Carolina Weather Group, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.